We go live and I'll just share my screen again. Hi everyone, welcome to Meshery Build and Release Call. This is a specific call where we discuss things like Meshery's test plans, Meshery's unit testing, and how different areas which are not usually discussed in Meshery development call. So this is that place where we generally give a DevOps dose to those people who like DevOps. And yeah, so today is November 23rd, and there are a couple of housekeeping items. First is like if you are joining live from Zoom, then make sure you add your names in the meeting minutes. I've shared the link in the chat, and the next thing is like we give our newcomers an opportunity to introduce themselves. So I see Unity, would you like to introduce yourself? Even if you have introduced yourself to others call, this is like if you haven't introduced to this call, then please take this opportunity.
Hi Pranam and hi everyone. So I'm Unnati, a software engineer working at Zomato. It's a tech-based startup in India, and I am very glad to be here again. Like after 2 years, I guess. I was there when I mean, that time also we had these calls, but certainly, yes, I remember everything now. So glad to see all the faces again and some new folks again. So I'm really glad and thank you so much for the opportunity, Pranav, and yeah, over to you.
Thank you for joining. Any interest that
Nati,
you have?
here 2 years ago? That's
Yeah,
impressive. Just
ab-
shows how long this project has been going on. Well, I've only been around for a couple months. Welcome back.
thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's cool. So I think rest all our old timers. Vivek, would you like to introduce? I think you have joined for the first time.
Yeah, I did join this call around 4 to 5 months ago. Asis was then hosting, but yeah, I'll once again go. So my name is Vivek Kushal. I'm a community manager and a former LFX intern here at Late 5, and I'm pretty much into my main hunch is Meshery.io and Docker Meshery.io and community stuff. But I'm here to get myself into some CI/CD and workflow stuff. So looking forward to it. Thank you, Pranav.
Yeah, that's
Wow,
great.
Vivek, you say you were here 4 months ago? That's a while ago. I've only been here like a month or two. Welcome back.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Vivek, for joining. Um, so that's cool. So let's start with our first standing item, which we discuss in almost all of our calls. That is Meshery's test plan, which is a spreadsheet that discusses like high level overview of different things which are tested by Meshery's current workflows. Like I've already explained this several times, I'll go over this once again. So for somebody who is new, so the first thing is like this spreadsheet basically gives you an overview of different tests, like what kind of area that test is running on, like what is the platform, Kubernetes or Docker, and what component the test is actually testing. What is the scenario, the action, what action would be performed for the testing, like what would be expected outcome, and then the notes and other stuff, and whether it's currently being included in the current E2E test or not. If so, that's basically about it. I this time actually created a bunch of different issues so that people can take in, because usually like we discuss but never get a chance for people to really take in the issue. So we'll discuss that a little later. But going back, if you don't know what E2E is, so there is a very good example. If you go to Meshery Istio adapter. That's a great example because that workflow is quite sophisticated. So let's see, if you go to Meshery Istio and you go to .github, go to workflows, you go for E2E tests. So basically what we do here is we try to test all the different basic functionality of this adapter. So if you don't know, Meshery as a tool supports Meshery is actually a cloud native manager which helps you manage your infrastructure across multiple Kubernetes clusters. And to do that, Meshery, for example, you want to manage your service meshes in your cloud native infrastructure, then Meshery uses its adapters. And the work of this adapter is to actually extract all the functionalities of different service meshes and give them through an interface to Meshery. And so if you want to work with Istio, then you will have Meshery Istio adapter. If you want to go to Linkerd, then you will use that adapter. So there are actually about 10 adapters to support different 10 service meshes which are generally used. So that's about the adapters and service meshes. So this workflow, what it does is it will actually start a Kubernetes cluster on the Ubuntu system, which would be in this workflow of GitHub runners. Then what it will do is it will once it starts Kubernetes environment, then it will start Meshery through Meshery CTL, and then it will after Meshery starts, then it will start Meshery adapter container with the latest images, and then what it will do is it will use the adapter to provision Istio service mesh, and we are just passing all those parameters to this. And once the service mesh starts, then what we'll do, we check whether all these assertions that we make, assertions like the names of the pod, if the name of the pod which are in the environment matches with this in the specific namespace which we're checking, then we say that test passes. That means the adapter is functional with the specific version of Kubernetes at a specific version of Meshery. And like now you might be thinking like, what, this is just this, like I talked about so many things. So the thing is you have to go to this specific file. So basically the workflow is actually written in Meshery, and we are just calling that workflow through these parameters. So you can go to Meshery. Let's just go quickly, and then I'll give one more thing. Okay, so if you go to GitHub, you go to workflows, and there is V2. Like earlier we had some problems, so we created another workflow which fixes a couple of things. So this is all the things which I just were discussing. We start the adapter, we start a Kubernetes service, and cluster is start. Then we do all those start Meshery. Then we start the adapter, we start the provision the service mesh, and then we do all the stuff. So basically it's written in bash script, as you can see, all those variable name and stuff. So that is just one of the E2E test. So that was just an example, and each, like this was just Meshery Istio. If you check, Meshery actually has a number of different adapters like Linkerd, Kuma, OSM, and each of them have their own similar workflow. And it's just that we check for different assertions. That is one thing. The second thing is whenever the results are like, whenever we get the result from the workflow, we publish them directly to this website, which is docs.meshery.io. And yeah, so here people can directly on a high level overview understand which adapter of at which specific Kubernetes version is compatible with Meshery or not. And as you can see, the tests are failing. So there are issues which I created, which we'll discuss later on. And so that is about it. And now you must be like, there was a recent discussion, like what is the difference between edge and stable and how to use them. So if you go to, you can read that more on documentation. Basically, it's like whenever we merge any of the PR, we make an edge release. When we when we actually go to the release drafter and like create a new release from there, that's the stable release. Generally, edge release are alpha releases, which people can directly start using the newest feature. Stable is like when all the bugs are fixed, then we make a stable release. And you can do that very conveniently through Meshery CTL. There's a command to switch the channels. So that's one thing. Okay, so that was about this. I'll discuss about the issues that I've created later on. The second thing is like the second part of this test spreadsheet basically gives you overview of some different workflows that are in under different repos. Like let's say if we have integration tests, what the work of that workflow is to test the UI build and run Cypress tests. Though recently we have moved away from that, but we need to update this. But similarly, we have, if it's a Docker build, it will build the Docker image and then ensure that the Docker build is passing. Swagger is for API docs. So if we can see one more thing, that is if we go to again Meshery, and let's see one important one, that is our stable release, which we were just discussing. Okay, so basically when you make a stable release, what we do is we generate a new API docs, because if there are any changes in the API documentation, then we make a new change. We actually generate the new documentation and then we commit them back to our repo to this thing. Then we also have graphical documentation. We do the same thing for that as well. Then we build the latest Docker image from like this Docker file, which you'll find under this folder, and just add the regular tags that we want, and then we push it to that will Meshery CTL. And like if you're a CLI user, you might want to use that. And we of course like build the latest binaries for CTL, and then we push it to Brew, because Brew, you can download Meshery CTL library from Brew as a formula. So we push it to that repo. And then we have a Docker desktop extension as well. So if you don't know, like last year on DockerCon, Meshery had its own very own Docker desktop extension, which is like if you are a Docker desktop user, you go to your dashboard. Okay, I think I'm not sharing my entire screen. Let me share. Okay. The right screen. Okay. So yeah, if you go to add extension, you search Meshery, you'll find the latest Meshery Docker extension. It's like this exact same thing. It's just that you don't have to worry about anything, any installation. You just click on this install button and it will give you Meshery and all the plugins and other stuff. So that is also built with this same workflow. Then we just check whether, and there's one more thing, like there's the Helm chart. So if you're a Kubernetes user, then you might want to use Helm chart. So it's just that we build the latest Helm chart and then we push it to mesh.io repo. So that's about it. And if we just check one thing, that is if any of the above releases, any of the above jobs fails, then we actually send an email to Meshery's development mailing list so that it can be resolved in a convenient and fast manner. So, and then we have one more thing, that is in last KubeCon EU, Meshery releases on its Meshery CNCF playground. And the basically playground, if you are not aware of that, you go to play.meshery.io and you can sign up for it. Basically, it's just that this environment is like this is like a playground environment where you will have a connected Kubernetes cluster. You can deploy anything which you like, and it's all about you. Again, this time you don't even have to use your environment for using Meshery. You can directly use this environment, and you will have all the features. And it's like it's a great way of collaborating with people, because generally there are, I think, around 10 people who are generally active. So you'll see all their avatars on. You can start collaborating right away from this environment. So yes, that's about it about that workflow we were just discussing. And that's about this high level overview of the spreadsheet. So that's it. Any questions, anybody?
For the stable release, is it human triggered or it's on a timeline?
Yeah, it's a human trigger. So like, let me show. If I go to my Istio, if I come here and I click, okay, we don't have any new changes, but like, okay, yeah. So if I just click on this edit button, I won't make a release. I'm just showing it. If I click preview and I click this publish release, then it will release this specific 6.18 version, and then it will really run the stable version, everything like the stable channel would get this new release. So this is how we run a stable release.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. So I think first item is from Daniel on meshing updates. So Daniel, would you like to go?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, let me go. Okay, so what I was doing, there was a issue raised a while back that the mesh sync, the make file for mesh sync was not up to standard. So, okay. Yeah, the Makefile was not up to standard. And so I did a bit of reorganization and then also adding appropriate comments. It's already done its merge, but I'll just show you how it was before and then how it is right now. So this is just a terminal I've opened up on MeshSync. I hope it's big enough to see. So what was there before? If you type make, you should at least see several options that could guide you. But this is what we were getting before. And then after making some of the changes, at least when you do a make, it will give you helping information that when you say make build, and exactly what action it will do. So this is a bit more descriptive and it will help someone new coming into the project to at least understand and have a basic way of at least getting up and running with using the project. The list is not extensive though. If you see anything else that you think we should add to the standard makefile, you can just, the issue is closed though, but you can just bring it up and then some additions will be made. Yeah, thanks.
That looks good. Quite convenient for newcomers to get started.
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody has any questions for Daniel? Okay. Okay, so I think next item is from Sandra on learning paths. Sandra, would you like to take over?
Yes, sure. So just about an hour before this call, there was another call where I spoke about how I felt my machine wasn't compatible with the requirements to install the necessary resources in order to run Meshery and solve this issue. Read through the example, the demo that you gave, I studied it, and I wanted to replicate it. However, I didn't feel like my machine was allowing me enough it it wasn't. I installed Kubernetes using micro 8s. I came back several hours later, it wasn't deploying. And I did this over the weekend. It took several hours. And so I felt like the time that I was taking in order to try and deploy Meshery, in addition to the time that would be required for me to resolve the issue, it's already been several weeks. And so I just suggested that I unassign myself from the issue and just be collaborative if somebody were to come and would want to attempt the issue. I'm not sure if Noreen is still on the issue in terms of willing to continue working on it after she's resolved other issues that she mentioned. But whoever comes along the way, I've left a comment state, leaving links to the discussions that were had in the past regarding resolving the issue. And if I'm commented on it, I'm more than willing to point people in the direction to go in order to resolve this. But I feel like my time would be more useful looking at 4 issues where I can spend more time working on them that don't require so much power for my now very small memorized machine until I get a bigger one in the future.
Okay. Thank you for explaining, like, that's helpful. So yeah, okay, then if someone else takes in, then we can move forward with that. I was just saying that you could also, like, if you could wanted to try with playground environment, because it also has a connected cluster. But yeah, we can
Where
like get to
has it?
some other item. What?
You said something about Kubernetes cluster?
Yes, yes. I was saying the playground itself has a connected cluster. So as you can see, I was just saying, like, if you wanted to use this environment, because we like clean this environment every day, so it's not a problem.
You mean without installing it on my machine?
Yes, like this cluster is not running on my system. That is what I was saying. Like this cluster is in a separate VM. This whole environment is a VM, so anybody can just use clusters if they want. If you
Okay,
can
because
just
I thought it
come.
was required for me to install Meshery on my machine in order to work with it. And I thought
No, no,
that's
no, no.
what you did.
Yeah, that I ran it locally, but you can just run this playground environment if you already have access to it, and you can just deploy anything which you want. So it's not a problem. And everybody uses this only. So I would just suggest you can do the exact same thing which I did. So you can just go to lifecycle and just deploy as many things as you want, because it doesn't matter. It automatically gets cleaned every day through the workflow which I showed. So you can just go to Meshery and just install it. And you can also see like the issue which we were seeing last time, it got fixed. I think Uzair fixed it like recently. Somebody worked on this area, so we have that as well. So if you wanted to try again, you can. Otherwise, anyways, we can get you more items.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
okay.
Yeah. And Sandra, just to help out, which version or how are you deploying Kubernetes on your machine?
So I tried deploying it with just installing. I followed the tutorial. They required me to install Kubernetes. I think I have linked. If I have, if you can open the issue, there's a link to all the resources I used on the discussion forum. And so because that didn't work, because it gave an error saying that the minimum requirements was CPU and 2 GB memory for the PC, and mine was under 2 GB memory. I deleted a few things, but I'm not sure if the memory was freed up to be adequate enough. And so someone from a different community suggested I install micro KA. I use micro KAs to install Kubernetes, and that's what I did, and it worked. I deployed Meshery within a cluster. I hope I'm using those terms correctly. I used the deployed Meshery within a cluster using micro K8, deployed well. But then when I came back a few moments later, didn't change anything, didn't do anything different on my PC. There were errors that said that it could not connect to the cluster. So Meshery was not deploying, and I just attest that to perhaps my memory, my PC's um, capacity to actually maintain this. But I'm assuming that MicroK8 is a managed Kubernetes service, so that shouldn't play a part. But because it's so slow, a 30-minute task would take 2 hours. So that's why I just got a bit frustrated and said that perhaps there's somebody out there wanting to work on this, but because it's assigned to me, they're like, okay, I'm just gonna not work on it. So I just like, okay, fine, let me just unassign myself and just be the available consultant or of some sort.
Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah. Yeah, but as Pranav has mentioned, you can still use the one offered by CNCF
Yeah.
if you so wish. So I feel you've spent quite some amount of time on this to not really come out with a win. So, and you've made a lot of progress. Right?
I don't think you're being very lenient by saying I made progress. I did not. You know, I made no progress except for ask questions and ask for demos that I inadvertently just studied but did implement. Very frustrating for myself because it's something that I actually want to and complete, but you know.
Yeah, at least in terms of the progress that I'm making is at least you have the groundwork done. If you compare where I would start from and where you would start from, you're far much ahead than where I would start. So that's
You.
the kind of progress I'm talking about. So yes, you don't have the final product or you don't have something, but at least you have a set pattern that you can follow.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so moving back to the agenda item, I think next is from Senali on system component library. Senali, would you like to discuss?
System is like component library we use in Meshery. So any component we create in the system library, we can use it in any places. Because we use this library, we can have consistent component in every places of the Meshery cloud and all the extension. So I have created one component for connection chip. So this is PR about that. So after we release a system release, we can use that component in any places. Like here, this is some places we use that component. So we move that into system. Like in also we use that same component in Meshery. Yeah, and like there also. So that's why we create those components in there. So anyone would like to create any components in system type, you can create that component and open the PR for any component we use consistent in different places. Any question feedback?
Nadia, are there any guidelines which you might want to give to newcomers regarding creating a new component or the naming scheme or how it should go?
We can create any component in this package. And the packages component so, yeah, in custom folder. So we can create a component in there. Recently we created data tables. So right now most of the places of the Meshery UI we use that data tables from a system. In this folder you can create any component.
And do we use you can also like tell others like do we use JavaScript or TypeScript or which language requirement we have?
Oh, yeah. So recently this library used the TypeScript and MUI all the components are MUI components. Yeah, other this libraries are not really similar to the way we use in other like all the other projects we use npm. Here we use that yarn package management. So here we use a few different things other than other projects. Like anyone want to like work with TypeScript? This is a good place for you can start. After you create any component, you can directly access those components. Use this syntax. We also have that or most of the SVG icons also moved this library.
Sounds good to me. Like it's quite a great way of being consistent throughout all the different UIs. If we have just one library and we just define our component once and then we can just reuse across different projects. So like is there also I think we are working on website as well for this. Okay, we can discuss that later on. So anybody has any questions on this?
I only have a petty feedback. If you could go to your if you could go to your PR, is it connection chip or connection chip? just a very petty go to the files changed. Exports, the interface is called Connexio chip. Just, I think it should be connection chip. Petty feedback.
A small, typo. On line 5, Great eye catch. I wish that. Okay. Thank you, Sinali. That was a great update. Um, I think we just covered everything for today, but I'll cover a couple of things that I created so that we can give to newcomers. First is like I recently created an issue which is like got stale. Like this is such a state for it's basically like a great way of getting started with Meshery project. It's just that what we have to do is what you will do is the ask in this issue is to use Meshery, design a cloud native infrastructure and then publish it to catalog. And what I did was I actually even created a sub issue so that people can directly go to this specific reference and use that as a reference and create a design and then publish it. But I think still it's like people are working on it. So anybody on the call, if they want to get started, this is a great way to not only get to know how to use Meshery, but how to like know about different Kubernetes resources and how they work in different environments. So this is just one issue. If somebody on the call would like to take, they can right now or later on as well. You can just comment on this and I'll just assign it to you. So first, let's just see like how to publish in case I can show quickly. If we go to catalog and if I just quickly create a design. Just if I have a simple namespace. And then you can just go to design and click this 3 ellipses. This will give you this publish button. I think there's some issue. I'll report that bug. Let's confirm from here if it works. Okay, so if I click publish, then yes. So basically, this modal will come in. It will ask you to fill in different details, like it's if your deployment, which technology it goes with, the caveats and consideration, and the description of your design. Once you click on submit for approval, what it will do is it will internally send an email to Meshery's maintainers, and then they will review the design, give you feedback, and if it looks good, then they will publish it to the catalog. And I think we didn't discuss a catalog, but there were a couple of issues which we'll discuss, I think, later on. But it's like whatever, whenever you publish, it comes to this catalog, and people can very readily see your design. And the best part about catalog is like we also see visual implementation. That is, I think, it's still loading, but you'll see a snapshot of the design which was recently added, which basically will give you how like if my design. Let me show you. Like if my design had a namespace on the canvas, so if we go back, we should be able to see that if it get published, so we should see the same thing here as well. Like as you can see all these visual interpretations. So this was recently added. So we actually see the exact design which is we saw on the canvas. So this is just in case you didn't know about. So all the design which you make, it directly come here. You can read more about them. And so yeah, so that's about the catalog. And anybody has any questions on catalog? How to publish? Any other thing? Okay. So I'll see that. Okay, so next thing which I opened was like there was one again issue related to a documentation, and it's open for quite some time. I'm not sure I'm sure if they are still working, but basically the ask is like if I was just showing this compatibility matrix, as you can see, this Meshery version is missing. It's like somewhere in our script we are like not dereferencing properly, due to which the version is not coming. Even though we have that information, it's just that it's not getting published here. So if someone would like to get started with CI/CD or workflows, then this could be a great way to get started. There's already an issue on this. and you can comment on it. So we can confirm with the current assignee if they are not working, then we can get you that issue. So, okay, sure, Vivek. Okay, so that's one thing. Next important thing is like our E2E tests are failing on couple of adapters. So the like E2E test which I was just demonstrating, it's failing for these adapters, and I was just saying like the issue is quite different from what it was earlier, saying that the adapter didn't these Meshery server namespace was once what happened. Basically, there are some issues here, and in case you want to work on more sophisticated things, like this would be that thing. Let's see what's. So basically, it's saying status code one. I think there is an issue as well which discusses like somewhere we are updating a status code, and due to that we are setting it somewhere one, and that is failing all the adapters. So if someone would like to work on this, then this could be like great way to get started with E2E testing. There are actually similar issues on two other adapters which I opened, so we can fix those. Similarly in Nginx adapter and Cilium adapter. And there's one more issue which is like if you want to work with Golang, then it could be that. And the issue basically is like we are failing our static checks. That is, we are not we missed somewhere Go FMT and things like that. So if you see, there's this lint check. So if someone want to get started with Golang and just do Golang CI lint fix, so you can do that. So this is that another item. If someone wants to work on this, you can comment on the issue. This is also good for this issue. So, and the next thing is actually I didn't documented this. I thought someone did, but I couldn't find the issue. The issue is if we see the documentation back and go to compatibility matrix, we'll realize one thing, that is here we are seeing that the percentage is 0 for the specific Kubernetes version, but if we see the results, you'll see a couple of tests passed. So that's like incorrect. We need to show the right percentage. So currently it's like, I think it's static or something, because we are not showing the right thing. We either show 100 or we show 0, or we show not applicable, which is incorrect. So if someone would like to document this issue, like, and then get started with it, that's also a great way to get started. So I'll pause for a few minutes before I move forward. Any questions on this? Any of these things?
Yeah, so basically, like, there the tooltip says 0, right? And yeah, you're right. Like, yep, if you can go back to, yeah, so it says 0%. So, yep, like I have fixed some of the issues here, right here, where you see there's n/a, so not applicable, I guess, that the tooltip on there says, right? Yep. So this 0 is static there, like hard coded. So the percentage, like, how will that be calculated? I mean, I'll open an issue on this, but the percentage thing, that how
you can describe, basically, see, you'll have the information of the specific version, like how many tests, what you will have total number of tests. You'll know how many were passing and how many were failing. Then you can just do divide,
Okay.
like simple, like, yeah. So that percentage thing. So, and I was thinking, like, instead of just showing either this, we can also show like a line and show these many are passing, this percentage is passing, this is failing. This is a small enhancement if you want to do. Yeah, currently I think we're just showing passing. We could show both the things. So just an enhancement.
So from a UI perspective, because now it was working because we had either it passes or it doesn't pass. So what happens? Do we have a threshold where we say, okay, this is good, or like if say we get to 75%, then that's a tick, or we show the percentage of like 75% tick or something like that? That will be a UI concern afterwards.
Yeah, that's also thing to consider. So like you were mentioning, we should like show a certain percentage of tick and instead of showing both the things, right?
Yeah. Okay. Essentially, the question is, so do we we only show like a green when it's 100%. Yes, but now if it says 75%, how do we communicate that to the UI?
Yeah.
Do we communicate that with an X, like 75% X or 75% tick, something like that?
Okay. So, Vivek, if you can help us documenting that, so it will help.
Yeah, I will.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I think this issue already is taken by Daniel. Like, I'll just quickly can tell what that issue is. So Meshery has one of the custom resource which like the work of that is to discover different objects in your cluster. And recently, like we did a couple of enhancements about discovering. We also updated our dashboard. So I realized that there were these resources were not being discovered. So I thought it would be helpful if Meshing start to discover these and Daniel would help us do that. So yeah, that's the other issue I created. So any questions? I don't think there would be any questions. Okay. So I think that's all. We covered all the items. So anybody had anything else to discuss? Like we still have 15 minutes.
So, Pranav, like I was to write a blog. So if you can go to meshery.io/catalog.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So like on each pattern, like how the caveats and description are populated from the remote provider. So like since I see we have like a couple of minutes left, so if you can talk about that, like.
I missed like how these information is coming. You are asking that?
Yeah, so like only the terms that I remember, is like these things are being populated from remote provider, right? So
Okay.
what does this mean? I mean, that thing if you could
Okay,
clear.
okay, got it. Okay, so I'll start from the thing that is the workflow which gets that information. So if you go to meshery.io, which is a repository for that website, you'll go to .github, you'll go to workflows, and there's a workflow add and delete. So what happens is whenever we approve a catalog request, we run this workflow, and whenever we delete a catalog request, we run the other one. We also run this as a cron job, that is we run it every day in the morning somewhere around 7:30. So basically the work of this is to first of all it reaches out to a remote provider through this API. It gets all the patterns which are only gets the patterns which are published. Okay, so if you don't know, there are three types of visibility as of today. One is public, other is private, then is published. So like whenever you create anything, it's public. Public means like anybody can come in and start collaborating with you. Private is like you are the only ones who can use or see and edit those designs. And the third is published, which is like the catalog thing. So whenever you click publish, then like it's only you are the one who can edit. At the same time, everybody can see, and it's also available on the catalog, which is curated by Meshery and the community. So that's about it. So currently we're just fetching all the catalog items, and we have actually two configurations as of today. One is designs, the other one is filters. Currently we are talking about designs. So we reach out to designs API. We basically get the design, then we just do simple parsing. That is, we get the ID, info, caveat, type, those information. The image URL which we were seeing right now, we also get that. And then we just do like simple stuff. If image URL not available, then we enable a static URL so that we don't give like so the images are not are broken images. So that's one thing. Then we just like what we do once we have all the information we want to show there, we convert it into this UI formatter. Like we are using Jackal for that, and Jackal front matter requires the information to be in this format. So we do that, and then we just like once we're done with this, the second thing we do is we do the same thing for our filters. Here filters means WASM filters. So Meshery has a first class integration with WASM. So what it means, like you can create, manage, or share your WASM filters with your teams or teammates. So we also fetch your publish WASM filters, and we do the exact same thing. We parse it and then we convert it into this UI front matter. Once we have the information, we do a commit to the repo, and once the commit is made, then it's available on this website. Because as well, as soon as we commit anything, the website gets updated with the latest changes. So that's how this information comes in. Does that answer the question?
Yep. So, yeah.
Okay. There's one more enhancement, like I just realized. Oops. What is that? I think I zoomed. So the enhancement is like, I'll again open. Okay, so enhancement is like currently we're not showing our WASM filters, we are only showing our designs. So it's pending for quite some time. So if you see, these are actually static filters, these are not the real ones. But we have the information for our published filters as well. It's just that like it's not being shown due to some reason. I didn't get a chance to see, but if someone wants to work on this, it's also quite straightforward. It's just that you'll see the workflow files where it's under underscore catalog, and you'll see that the filters are there, just that it's not being shown here. And we are okay. Only you can do that. If you can also help in documenting that issue so that it's easier to track, and then someone will definitely assign it to you. So what you can do is you can just check why filters are not being shown here, and we're just showing static ones. So that's other item. Thank you, Unity, for taking that. I think that's all. What else? Like I think we covered everything, and I also gave overview. So anybody had any other questions? We still have time.
Yeah, on slightly
Sure.
different issue. How would you like write documentation? Does it require like using Jekyll, does it require you actually manipulating HTML files in CSS?
Documentation for the patterns.
No, but essentially, if I want to write a documentation that will show up at docs.meshery.io,
Okay.
I think
do I
present
have,
this.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
do I
so
have
like
to manipulate HTML files?
no, you just have to write simple markdown file, and that's how we. So maybe I can point out some PRs to you, and like they were adding some documentation in particular section of the mystery docs. So just
Yeah.
a simple markdown file, using that you can write that No, I mean
So
HTML
I
will work
can,
there.
yeah. So if you come to Meshery under Meshery organization, you'll come to docs, this docs, then you'll come to pages. Then you
Mhm.
can just like come, let's say if you want to discuss concepts, we go to logical, and let's say if we want to discuss models. So like currently what we're seeing right now here, if I go back to documentation, I go to logical, and then I go to models. So you can see concept models and concept models. So this is the same thing. So basically, whatever you write here will be published to that particular thing. And I think you wanted to write about meshing, and it's, I think, releases channel. I thought, yeah. So I think you'll find that somewhere like there is, I think, a specific place for meshing. If we see, let's see. Under concept architecture. Okay, so if we go to architecture and you'll go to missing, so here you can add your information. Just take concept architecture mission. Here you'll just add in markdown and you can make a PR. You'll also see a preview of your changes, so that's also helpful.
Okay, thank you. I can also give overview of playground if we have a little more time. Then you can. We have 7 more minutes, so then we can end. So if somebody want to know more about playground, it's like what's your deployment like? I think Sandra was also looking into like about the Kubernetes cluster and stuff. So if you go to this repo, Meshery, you go to playground, and first of all, this is the configuration of playground, which is running on a bare metal configuration. Currently, there are different ways of running the playground. One is Kubernetes, other one is Docker. The thing which we have currently is for Dockerized deployment. This actually picture gives a very good information about what the deployment is. So see, there are two VMs. One is Meshery O1, other is Meshery O2. We are running Kubernetes cluster on this one. The cluster which I was just showing, where is it? This cluster Kubernetes admin. It's actually an active cluster. You can deploy anything. So this cluster is in separate VM, and
it's a private VM. We cannot like directly reach out to it. Only this VM is allowed to go through it because it's not exposed to internet, but the left one is. So they privately talk to one another. And this on the left, we have Meshery, which is running in a Dockerized environment. It has all the adapters and other things. And this thing is exposed to internet. So if I go back, so this playground.meshery.io, it's reachable by anybody. And yeah, so that's simply a high level overview. So whatever we do here, like you deploy something, then Meshery actually reach out to that Kubernetes API server and then deploy things into that environment. And the best part about this is like we update this environment every day. So that means like whatever we deploy, it's get cleaned every day, and we again do a new deployment of Meshery. So it's always gets cleaned every day. So it's not an issue if you deploy anything. So that's like how this playground environment works, and it's cleanup process. So yes, that's it. I think I'll stop because I've already covered different stuff. So anybody has any questions? Otherwise, we can end. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you all for joining. We can meet on the next meet, which will be 2 weeks from today. So yeah, thank you all. See you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Pranav.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.